The night on Nova 14 was colder than usual, and Evan Hawley was the kind of man who never expected visitors. He lived alone in a small metal house at the edge of town, far from noise, far from trouble, and far from people who could disturb him. He liked silence. He liked simple nights with warm tea and quiet work. But on this night, everything changed. It began with a sound so soft you almost ignored it. Tap, tap, a weak knock. Not firm, not loud. Almost like someone touched the door by mistake. Evan looked up from his tools, confused. No one ever came to his door at night. Most people in the colony slept early, and even the patrol robots had a schedule, so who was knocking? He opened the door slowly, ready to tell someone they had the wrong house, but the words froze in his throat. An alien woman stood in front of him. She looked young, maybe close to his age, but nothing about her was normal. Her skin was pale silver, glowing faintly under the moonlight. Her long hair was tangled and messy, falling over her face like she had been running for days. Her eyes were bright blue, but they shook with fear. She held her stomach with both hands, breathing fast, like every breath hurt. Evan did not even get the chance to speak before she whispered something. Her voice was soft, almost breaking. "I'm hungry." Then her knees bent, her body shook once, and she fell straight into his arms, completely unconscious. Evan's heart jumped. He had helped people before, but never someone like this. She was too light, too cold, and too weak. He carried her inside and placed her on his old couch, trying to wake her up. She did not move. Only her chest rose slowly, as if she was fighting. Just to keep breathing, Evan hurried to get water, warm cloth, anything he could think of. He had no idea what food her species ate. He had no idea how long she had been starving. But he could see her condition was serious. Her arms had bruises, dark, painful-looking marks like someone had grabbed her too hard. Her clothes were dirty and torn. It looked like she had escaped from something terrible. When he touched her wrist to check her pulse, he felt metal. A broken metal band was locked around her arm. Strange alien symbols were carved on it. It looked like a prison tag. Or worse, like something used to control people. Evan felt cold inside. Who was she running from? Why did she come to his house? Why did she ask for food with her last breath? The wind outside grew stronger, and Evan heard a distant sound. A rumble, a low engine. Then another, and another. He walked to the window and froze again. Outside, moving through the trees, were lights. Searchlights. Someone was looking for her. Evan stepped back from the window and looked at the woman. Again, faint, bruised, terrified. She had knocked on his door. Not any other house, not any nearby building, but his. Was it an accident? Or did she come here on purpose? He did not know. But he knew one thing. If the people outside were the ones who hurt her, then opening his door tonight had just put him in danger too. The searchlights moved closer. Evan quickly shut off all lights inside. The room fell dark. The woman breathed weakly on the couch. He stood there, heart beating fast, listening to the rumbling engines outside. Someone was hunting. Someone was searching. And the alien woman lying inside his house was the reason. The quiet life Evan Hawley knew was gone. Everything was about to change. The silver-skinned woman did not wake up for a long time. Evan sat beside the couch, watching her breathing rise and fall, slow and uneven. Outside, the searchlights had passed, but Evan knew they would return. You do not send out a hunting team with bright lights unless you want something badly. And whatever they wanted, it was lying unconscious in his house. After almost an hour, the woman's fingers twitched. Her eyelids moved a little, then shut again. Evan leaned closer, worried. She looked so fragile, like the softest touch could break her. He placed a cup of warm water near her hand and whispered gently, "You're safe here. Please wake up." At first, she did not react. But then, suddenly, She gasped and sat up fast, her whole body shaking like she was waking from a nightmare. Her eyes were wide, full of fear. She pressed herself against the back of the couch, breathing fast, her hands raised as if she expected someone to hit her. Evan lifted both hands to show he meant no harm. "Hey, it's okay, you're fine. You fainted at my door." She stared at him, confused, trying to understand his words. Her eyes were glossy with tears. She looked around the room like she didn't trust anything around her, not even the air. Then her stomach made a sharp, painful sound. She bent forward, holding her belly, and whispered again with a breaking voice, "Hungry." "Please." That small whisper stabbed Evan's heart. No one should sound that desperate. He rushed to the kitchen. He didn't know what her species ate, but he started with the softest human food: warm broth, plain bread, and small fruit pieces. He placed the tray beside her. She stared at the food like she thought it might be a trick. Her hands hovered above the bowl, shaking. She waited, as if expecting him to snatch it away from her. Evan sat down on a chair across from her and said gently, "It's okay, eat, it's for you." Her lips trembled, and she slowly raised the bowl. She smelled it first. Then she took one tiny sip, then another. And then her whole body responded. She began drinking fast, almost too fast, like someone who had not eaten for days. Tears slipped from her eyes as she swallowed the warm broth, and she covered her mouth with her hand, trying not to cry louder. Evan couldn't look away. Whoever she was, she had suffered. When she finished, she looked at him, eyes full of fear and gratitude at the same time. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice still weak. Evan nodded. "You're safe. No one will hurt you here." But the moment he said that, she flinched. Her eyes darted to the window. She hugged herself tightly, shaking. "No. No safe," she whispered, voice trembling. "They will come. They always come." Evan leaned forward. Who is coming?" She looked at him with fear so deep it made Evan's chest tighten. "My captors, the hunters. The ones who hurt me." Evan froze. Captors. Hunters. This wasn't just someone escaping a bad place. This was someone escaping men who would chase her to the ends of the world. The woman took a deep breath and whispered, "My name, Lyris. I ran away. If they find me, they will take me back. Or kill me." Evan's blood ran cold. She wasn't just a runaway. She was a target. He turned his head toward the window, remembering the searchlights, the footsteps, the voices. They were close. Too close. And now he understood why. Lyris wasn't safe. And now, because he helped her, he wasn't safe either. Evan barely slept that night. Lyris finally rested on the couch, curled up like someone afraid of the world. Even in sleep, her body twitched from fear. Sometimes she whispered something in a strange alien language, soft, painful sounds that made Evan feel as if she had seen things no person should see. He sat by the window with the lights off, watching the dark forest outside. Every now and then, he thought he saw shadows moving between the trees. Maybe it was nothing. Or maybe it was everything. Lyris feared. By dawn, the quiet was broken. A loud engine growled down the dirt road. Evan stood up fast. Lyris woke up, with panic in her eyes before she even knew what was happening. "Hide," Evan whispered. She didn't ask questions. She slid behind the old storage curtain in the corner and curled her knees to her chest. Her breathing was fast and thin, like she was trying to disappear. Evan waited, heart pounding. 3 men stepped out of a dark transport vehicle. They wore heavy black armor with tinted helmets, and each carried a weapon that looked one step away from military tech. Their boots hit the ground with slow confidence, like they had walked this path before. The leader, a tall man with a scar under his left eye, lifted a device that beeped sharply. "She's close," he said. His voice was cold, empty, very close. Evan swallowed hard. They stood right outside his door. One of the men banged on it with the butt of his gun. "Open up." Evan stepped forward and opened the door only a little, pretending to look confused and half asleep. "Mornin'," he said. "What's going on?" The leader shoved his boot against the door, pushing it open wider. His eyes scanned the room like a hawk searching for prey. "We're looking for an alien female," he said. "Silver skin, blue eyes, dangerous runaway." Evan forced himself to look surprised. "Dangerous? Haven't seen anyone dangerous around here." The second hunter walked past him without asking permission and searched the room with sharp, aggressive movements. He checked the kitchen, the small storage area, even lifted the blankets on Evan's bed. But his steps stopped right in front of the curtain where Lyris hid. Evan felt his heart stop. The man reached for the curtain. Evan spoke fast. "You guys work for the mines, right?" The hunter paused but didn't answer. Evan continued, pretending to sound clueless. "Yeah, I heard someone escape last night. But my place was quiet. I was sleeping. Didn't hear a thing." The man hesitated, then lowered his hand slowly. The leader walked toward Evan again. "If you see her, report immediately," he said with a fake smile that did not reach his eyes. "She's very important, and very unstable." Evan held the stare. "Of course." The leader leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. Only Evan could hear. "And if you're hiding her, that will be the last mistake you ever make." Evan's chest tightened, but he didn't look away. Finally, the men turned, walked out, and stepped into their vehicle. Engines roared, tires spun, and the transport disappeared down the road, leaving a trail of dust behind. Evan shut the door quietly and exhaled for the first time in minutes. He pulled the curtain aside. Lyra stared up at him with wide, terrified eyes. "You lied for me," she whispered. Evan nodded. "Yeah, and I'll do it again." Lyris shook her head, tears rising. "They won't stop. Not until they take me back." Evan helped her stand, his voice steady. "Then we won't let them." For the first time, something changed in her expression. A small spark hope mixed with fear. The hunters had come. Next time they would not knock. And Evan knew the quiet life he once lived was gone forever. For a long moment, Evan and Lyris simply stood in silence after the hunters left. The house felt smaller, tighter, like the walls themselves were nervous. Lyris's hands were shaking so badly that Evan had to guide her back to the couch. She sat down slowly, her legs weak like they could stop working at any second. Evan knelt in front of her. "Lyris," he said softly, "I need to know the truth. Why are they hunting you like this?" Her eyes closed for a second. When she opened them again, they were full of pain. Not normal pain, deep pain, old pain, the kind that lives inside someone who has lost too much. She pulled the blanket around her shoulders as if the memory itself made her cold. "They lied to you," she whispered. "I am not dangerous." "They are." Evan listened without interrupting. Lyris pointed to the broken metal band on her wrist. This was not for workers. It was for prisoners. For scientists they did not want escaping. Evan's eyebrows lowered. "You're a scientist?" She nodded. "I worked under the mines," she continued. "Deep below, where the air tastes old and the ground hums like a sleeping giant." Her voice trembled as she remembered. "We were forced to study something. Something they found buried under the rock." Evan leaned forward. "What did they find?" Lyris swallowed hard. "An ancient device. Not human, not from my people either, something older. Too powerful." Evan's heart beat faster. He knew the mines had many secrets, but this sounded like something dangerous enough to destroy a whole colony. "They wanted us to activate it," she said, "but none of us understood it. It was like trying to wake up a star that did not want to shine." Evan frowned. "So why did they hurt you?" Lyris looked down at her bruised arms. "Because I refused." Evan felt a cold anger rise inside him. Lyris continued, voice breaking. They tested the device on crystals metal. Even animals. But then they planned something worse. They wanted to test it on people. Human people. Innocent people from this colony. Evan stared at her, stunned. You're serious? Yes, she whispered. I heard them talking. They said humans were easy to replace. They said no one would question missing workers. Tears slipped down her cheeks. When I tried to warn the others, they chained us. They took our food. They beat us until we stopped asking questions. Evan clenched his fists. Lyris took a shaky breath. I escaped the night they prepared the test chamber. I ran through tunnels past guards, through fire alarms. I thought I would die. I had not eaten for 2 days. But I kept running. She wiped her tears with trembling fingers. I ran toward the first house with light. It was yours. Evan felt something strange like destiny had pushed her to his door. Like everything in his quiet life had been preparing him for this. One moment. Why didn't you go to the colony police? He asked. Lyris's expression turned bitter. They control the police. The officers who try to help disappear. The ones who speak out lose everything. Evan understood now. She didn't just run from hunger. She ran from a secret so big it could shake the whole colony. You were right, she whispered. They will come again. They must stop me before I speak. Evan gently placed a hand on her shoulder. Then speak to me, he said. Tell me everything. And I'll help you stop them. Lyris looked up, surprised. No one had offered her protection before. No one had believed her before. For the first time, she saw something stronger than fear in this small house at the edge of town. She saw hope and a human willing to stand with her against anything. Even an enemy hidden beneath the world. Evan had always believed he was just a simple man, someone who fixed machines, made tea at night, and lived far away from trouble. But now trouble sat quietly on his couch, wrapped in a blanket, looking at him with frightened blue eyes. And he knew something very clearly. There was no going back to the quiet life. The hunters would come again. And next time they wouldn't. Knock! Lyris sat with her knees to her chest, staring at her bruised wrists as though the metal band was still there. She flinched at every small sound, the creak of the floor, the whistle of the wind, even Evan's kettle warming on the stove. It broke something inside him to see her so afraid. Evan, she whispered softly, you should let me go. I don't want you hurt. He shook his head. I'm not letting you go anywhere. You don't understand, she insisted. They will kill you if they think you helped me. Then they'll have to try, he said calmly. Lyris stared at him, confused. No human has ever stood for me before. Then I'll be the first. Her lips trembled, and she looked away quickly, like she didn't want him to see the tears forming. Evan stood up, determination filling his chest like fire. I'll protect you, but we have work to do. He walked through the house, checking every door, every window, every corner. Lyris watched him with quiet curiosity. What are you doing? She asked. Preparing, Evan said. If they want a fight, I'll give them one. His house wasn't big, but it had tools, sharp ones, heavy ones, old ones with rusted edges that still worked if held right. He wasn't a soldier, but he was smart, and he knew every inch of his home. He knew how to make traps from simple things, wires, chairs, loose boards, old machines. He started placing metal cans near the window's noise alarms, tied rope near the back door tripwires, wedged furniture near the front makeshift barricades. Lyris walked slowly toward him, her steps uncertain. You would do all this for me? She asked. Evan didn't look up. You came to me when you needed help. That's enough. But I'm not human, she whispered. That doesn't matter. Lyris stood still, her breath shaking. She didn't understand humans much, but this kindness felt strange, warm, and almost painful because she had known only cruelty before him. "You should run," she said softly. "They don't stop. They never stop." Evan paused, then turned toward her. "That's why I'm staying." Lyris blinked, surprised. "Why?" His answer was simple. "Because you deserve someone to fight for you." Her eyes filled with tears. She had heard humans scream at her, order her, push her, starve her, but never defend her. Never choose her. Evan handed her a metal pipe. "If something happens, use this to protect yourself." She took it with trembling hands. "I don't want to hurt anyone." "You won't," Evan said. "But you will not go back to them. Not again." Lyris took a deep breath, trying to gather her fading strength. "I can help," she whispered. "I have small energy powers. Weak now, but maybe enough." Evan nodded. "We'll use everything we've got." Outside, night began falling again, heavy and silent. The wind carried a distant engine in the darkness. Lyris heard it first. Her body stiffened. "They're coming," she whispered. Evan stood tall, gripping a wrench tightly. "Then let them come." For the first time since she escaped, Lyris didn't feel alone. Didn't feel weak. She felt something stronger rising. Inside her. She felt protected. And Evan felt something rise inside him. Too, something fierce and unshakable. A promise. Tonight he would not run. Tonight he would stand between her and the world. Because this alien woman was no longer just a stranger at his door. She was someone worth fighting for. Night covered Nova 14 like a heavy blanket. No stars, no moon, only darkness thick enough to hide anything, especially danger. Evan and Lyris waited inside the house with every light off. The air felt tight, as if the whole world was holding its breath. Lyris sat near the corner with the metal pipe Evan gave her. Her hands shook, but her eyes stayed fixed on the door. Evan stood near the window, gripping a heavy wrench, listening. Carefully, for a long while, nothing happened. No footsteps. No engines. No voices. Then the quiet broke. A low humming sound rolled across the trees. Not a normal engine, this one glided through the air, powered by silent hover tech. Evan's grip tightened. Lyris felt her heart jump painfully against her ribs. "They're here," she whispered. The humming grew louder, then stopped. A whisper of boots touched the ground. Multiple boots. Evan peeked through a small gap in the curtain. 7 hunters surrounded the house. Each man carried glowing weapons that pulsed with red ring stun rifles, the kind used for capturing living people. Their armor shined under their helmet lights, and their breathing echoed through mask speakers. One of them pointed at Evan's door. "Break it." Evan whispered, "Get ready." The first loud hit shook the door. Lyris flinched, her breath catching. The second hit cracked the wood. Evan's traps trembled under the force. The third hit splintered the hinges. Then the door crashed inward. The hunters stormed inside, guns raised. But Evan was ready. As soon as the first hunter stepped in, he tripped over the rope Evan set earlier. He crashed forward, hitting his helmet on the floor, dazed. Before he could recover, Evan swung his wrench and struck the man's weapon, sending it flying. The second hunter fired a stun beam. Evan ducked behind a chair, and the beam hit a metal pot instead, exploding in sparks. Another hunter charged forward directly into the row of metal cans Evan hung by the window. They fell loudly, confusing the hunter for a moment. It was enough. Lyris raised her hands, and a faint blue glow spread from her palms. Her energy was weak, but she forced herself to focus. The blue light shot across the room and hit the hunters. Legs, he froze, body stiff, trapped by her energy. But using the power drained her instantly. Her body collapsed to her knees, hands shaking. "Lyris!" Evan rushed toward her, but the third hunter aimed his gun straight at Evan's chest. "You should have stayed out of this," the man growled. Before he could fire, a bright flash filled the room. Lyris pushed herself up, her energy flaring again, this time brighter, stronger, fueled by fear. The blast knocked the hunter back into the wall, his gun clattering across the floor. But she fell again, exhausted. 3 hunters remained. They formed a circle and stepped forward. Evan moved in front of Lyris, holding the wrench like a sword. "You want her?" he said, voice steady. "You'll have to get through me." The hunters raised their rifles, then a loud siren echoed from outside. A colony patrol vehicle slid into the yard, lights blinding the hunters. Officers jumped out, shouting orders. "Drop your weapons. Hands where we can see them. You're under investigation." The hunters cursed and tried to run, but the officers fired stun rounds, dropping them one by one. Within seconds, all of them were on the ground. Captured. Evan lowered his wrench slowly, chest rising with heavy breaths. The house was a mess: broken door, fallen furniture, burned spots from energy blasts. But Lyris was alive. He knelt beside her, lifting her gently. "You're safe," he whispered. "It's over." Lyris opened her tired eyes, tears sliding down her cheeks. "It's not over," she whispered weakly. "But for the first time, I feel safe." Evan held her closer as officers secured the hunters outside. Tonight they survived. But tomorrow, everything would change. The house was silent after the fight, except for the soft crackle of the broken door swinging in the wind. The hunters were gone now, taken away by the colony officers. Their weapons, their threats, their darkness, everything was finally out of the house. But the fear they left behind still hung in the air like a shadow. Evan sat beside Lyris, who rested against the wall with a blanket around her shoulders. She looked so small and tired, yet somehow stronger at the same time. Her hands still shook from the energy she used, and her breathing was slow, but her eyes had changed. There was a softness in them now, not only fear. Something new lived there. "You stayed," she whispered, staring at him with wide, gentle eyes. "Even when they wanted to kill you, you stayed." Evan smiled weakly. "I told you I would." Lyris touched her wrist where the broken metal band used to be. "All my life, humans only gave orders to me. They took my work, my freedom, my peace, everything. But you." She paused, emotion tight in her throat. "You gave something back. What did I give?" Evan asked softly. "Safety," she whispered. "A place to breathe. A place to sleep without fear. A home." Evan looked down, suddenly shy. He didn't think saving someone could feel this big, but hearing her say, "home," it warmed something deep inside him. Something he didn't even know was cold. For a moment, they just sat quietly, listening to the night wind. The house was damaged, but it felt different now, alive, warm, filled with something that had not existed here before. A bond, a connection. Lyris finally spoke again, voice steady but full of emotion. "Evan, why did you choose to help me? You didn't know me. You had no reason." Evan looked at her honestly. "Because you knocked on my door," he said. "And when someone knocks asking for help, you help." Lyris blinked fast, fighting tears. "No one ever believed that about humans," she whispered. "They always said humans only help their own people. They said humans are selfish." He shook his head gently. "Not all of us." But Lyris leaned closer, her silver hair brushing her cheek. "You're not like anyone I have ever seen. Not human. Not alien, something better." Evan laughed, softly embarrassed. "I'm just a man who fixes machines." "No," she said firmly. "You are the man who saved me." As dawn slowly pushed the darkness away, Lyris tried standing. Her legs trembled, so Evan helped her up. She looked around his housebroken door, scattered tools, cracked floor, but her expression was full of warmth. "I want to fix this place," she said. "I want to help you now." Evan blinked. "Help me?" She nodded. "You protected me. Now let me protect you too. Let me stay." Evan felt a rush of surprise. Stay? With me? Lyra stepped closer, her eyes glowing soft blue. I have nowhere else, no family, no home but here. With you. I feel something I thought I could never have. What's that? Evan asked quietly. She smiled a real smile, bright and gentle. Family. The word hung in the air. Fragile and beautiful. Evan took her hand slowly. Then stay, he said. Stay as long as you want. Lyris let out a shaky breath of relief and rested her head against his shoulder. Thank you, Evan, for everything. For saving me. For fighting for me. For giving me a place to belong. He wrapped his arms around her, feeling her warmth. Her heart beat steady, alive, safe. And in that quiet moment, Evan realized something powerful. This alien woman who collapsed at his door was no longer a stranger. She had become a part of his life, his home, his world. She had chosen him. And he had chosen her. A human and an alien, two lost souls, now standing together as something stronger. Family.